mics, music off, and...
Because you probably are at 2 in the morning, like, simulation.
5, 4, 3...
Welcome, everyone, and pull up a seat at the table. It is Lunchtime in Rome. Tonight's episode 275 is titled Funeral Blessings. What makes the saddest of days more bearable? What has helped you get through these terrible life events? What have you done to help others through their time? We're talking about that at the table this evening. So pull up a seat and join us. First-time listeners can subscribe on your favorite podcast app, or watch us live or later on YouTube at Lunchtime in Rome. Visit us at lunchtimeinrome.com. And while there, you can take our relational needs questionnaire. Make sure to follow us on all social media. And it would be great if you gave us a 5-star review. Jay, what specifically is this podcast about?
At the table, we strive to love one another and help you to do the same. Some weeks we will have someone join us so that you can get to know them and learn a little bit about yourself in the process. But other weeks, we dive into a topic. Romans 12:15 says to rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. That's what we do. So while it may not be 12:15 in Rome, we're treating it like it is
Lunchtime in Rome.
Welcome, Amy. Hammond.
Yep. I was going to make a joke, but I won't. Chris isn't here, but Amy is. I'm just going to leave it there. I was going to make a joke. Never mind. Sorry.
Did you just warn against things like that in church on Sunday in your message? Maybe not exactly the same thing.
I referenced it.
I was going to say something very sinful
But
and
I
spiteful,
didn't.
but I didn't.
I
Would you
was
like to
gonna
hear about it?
I still can't. Amy, it's really nice to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here tonight.
And Chris is fine, by the way.
You're always here with us.
True.
I am.
You just
I
are
do
not on
sit
the
at the
same
table.
floor.
Yes, every week.
During when we're
listen.
recording, she's above the table.
She
Yes.
is above the
And then
table.
later on, she pulls up a seat
I do.
at the table.
Yeah.
This your third
At
time?
least 4.
You did how many girls episodes? Was it?
There were
what-
2.
2 girls a pod.
And then I did one with Rachel
Oh,
and you.
Oh, right.
Postpartum.
Right, so
so
that's
maybe
3.
5th.
So,
This is 4
Wait,
or 5.
postpartum? Was Rachel not postpartum? So it was, and Emily, and
Yeah.
Emily. Wow. Yeah. Which we're going to have a guest in a week, maybe 2.
Can't be 2.
Oh, good point. That's a good point. I'll look it up. Anyhow,
Yeah.
who has a ministry where they offer counseling, grief counseling for traumatic birth and loss at birth.
wow.
And it's a husband and wife who do that, and the guy ministers to the men and whatnot.
Wow.
And so,
That is very cool.
I like that.
To have a husband and wife team
Yeah.
to minister to both, because I think guys tend to get forgot about in situations like that.
they're fine.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
my
I'll
pa-
look up and see when they are, or maybe now or not. Coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we'll talk about that because I'm trying to remember what we did this last week. I didn't really think about that.
Did you not get the Elon Musk memo? What are the 5 things you did
I
this
should
week?
have. I should have written that down. Dang it!
You don't know.
I'm
going to
get fired from the podcast now.
Yeah. I know that last week you took the sound straight from YouTube because our recording quit.
I did do that.
So I know you
What
did
did
that.
we do this weekend?
I vouch for you.
I honestly don't remember.
That's what I'm saying. What the heck did we do?
I don't know. That's terrible.
Wow. What'd you eat for
Well,
breakfast this
Clearly
we
not
morning?
did have
correct.
Friday Night Live up at church, and that was awesome because we got
Yes.
the room ready, which Amy's been diligently working on, and I've diligently been painting.
Did you stay for that?
Yeah, we did.
You
Oh
stayed
yeah,
for the
yeah,
event?
yeah, totally. We did Mario Kart. It was fun.
Next Wednesday, which apparently is also Ash Wednesday,
Oh yeah, that's fine.
March 5th.
But yeah,
I won't be here.
Friday Night Live was fun. I'm excited where it's going, where it can go.
Did you describe what it is?
Not really.
Yeah, just opening up our church in 3 different capacities and a half for the community to have an evening that doesn't cost anything. And so there's music and there's a game room, or I should say a video game room where we will ideally have Mario Kart tournaments that are good for young and old alike.
Yep.
And then board games and whatnot and a snack bar and fun.
Yeah.
So it was fine, first one. It was a
Yeah,
good-
I mean,
good
it's the
cold
first
open.
one. Yeah. But I'm excited. Like I said, I'm excited where it's going, where it can go. And but we're planning for a Nashville trip, which we're very excited about.
I'm so excited for you. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I can't wait to go.
Maybe more so than if I were going. Like, I'm so excited for you guys.
Wow.
Like, if I was going, I'd be like, I gotta fly.
I'm kind of in that mindset. I'm like,
I know
well,
we don't really want to fly.
inconvenient.
Not going forward to that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But until our plane touches down, then I'll be like, yeah, all right, we're
Nice.
here. But yeah, it should be a good time. Will be a good time.
Just a getaway?
Just a getaway, just us.
When to when?
March 13th through the 17th.
Yep.
Yeah.
Missing both mine and Bella's birthday, or Joe's
know.
birthday.
Oh,
But what
March.
a
Yeah, March
March
Madness. Yeah.
Yeah.
big month.
Yeah. That's what I got.
13 to 17. So that's Thursday through.
Monday.
Thursday to Monday.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a great trip.
We want to do 3 nights away.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I
Especially
mean?
if you're flying.
Especially if we're flying, we're like
Yeah.
gonna go. And we were talking about doing something like, south, like going like to Florida or, or even like the Gulf of Alabama. There's some cool spots that we were looking up. But we were like looking at the weather at the time, like I'm like, we're still not gonna get in the water. So why would we go to the beach, unless we were going like really tropical, but we're not doing that right now. I don't have my passport. So we thought like, well, I think I suggested it. I was like, what about Nashville?
Have you been there?
I've only been like kind of through Nashville. So, well, and when I was younger, we stayed at the Opry Hotel, down there, but I was pretty young. I don't really remember a lot of it. But now that we're older, we're going to experience a lot more fun things in Nashville.
Yeah, right.
But live music and all the cool music history down there, and yeah, it looks awesome. So yeah, I'm excited. And we were talking earlier today. Shout out to Mel, who I work with. She went to Prague, the Nashville of Europe, and but when they were planning their trip, they were talking, all right, let's plan one for sure thing we want to see, like per day, and then the rest of the day we'll just see where it takes us. And I was like, that's great, because like there's things that like we're not going to want to miss in Nashville that we've looked up. We want to go to the Bluebird Cafe and see a show there, but then like we always end up like if you pack your trip and then you see something when you're on that trip, you're like, oh, I want to go do that
can't
Next
do it.
time.
but we
Can't
got
do
but
it
we
'cause we- yeah.
right, but we got to get to the next thing. It's, it starts in half an hour. We can't do it. So I'm excited about that, for it to be like we're gonna do the things that we want to do, and then we're gonna see where it takes us.
Where are you staying?
Airbnb.
Ooh, Airbnb.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. We found a good one, good price, really nice. Looks really
Rented
cool.
a car.
Renting a car. Yeah,
So excited.
It's like an Airbnb for a car
yeah.
rental.
Toro.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Trying it
That's
out.
kind of awesome.
yeah.
We'll get to my weekend in a minute as we transition to the topic. But I just had a weird moment as I was getting gas in Rachel's car, because I still do that. And that's a thing I do as a husband for her. And a siren was, an ambulance was coming by. And I had a flashback, and not a flashback, but a realization. So when I was in college, I was driving back to Bloomington on I-70, somewhere around Dayton or so, and there was construction, and it was one of those things where there was a bridge, and you could see they had like tarps coming down. And I was in my brother's pickup truck, not the one he has now. And I had the window down. Did it have air? I don't know. And I went by where they were sandblasting the bridge, and it was so loud that like my ear rang for like 2 weeks straight.
Wow.
Oh wow.
So to this point in time, whenever an emergency vehicle goes by or they're doing any construction, I immediately, instinctively cover my left ear. I was getting gas with my right ear to the road, and an ambulance went by, and I covered my left ear.
Like you do.
And like an idiot, I'm laughing by myself getting gas. But it's amazing. I mean, that was 38 years ago.
Wow. That hurts. They do something to you.
I swear there's something to that.
Leaves them
Body keeps the score.
Vanderschmoot,
Yeah.
or whatever his name was.
So you mentioned passport.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my passport, and it's turned out to be a little bit more difficult than I thought.
Apparently, I'm not a citizen.
Well, what's interesting is I went up yesterday to the post office. I thought I had everything. I had my old passport, which has been expired for 10 years now.
That's what ours was.
So it's now they won't like I have to get a new passport. It's like I never even had a passport.
Correct.
So, but I went up to get it and they told me I needed to make an appointment. So I'm talking to the guy at the post office and he's like, you need to make an appointment. I was like, okay, can I make an appointment? He's like, you have to do it online or at the kiosk up there. I was like, I can't make it with you here right now.
Nope.
He said, no, I'm sorry, sir. Okay, I'll be back. So
Is it the guy that's always working there?
He's got a ponytail.
Oh, no, not him.
Yeah. So anyways, I made the appointment yesterday for today at 1. Brought my birth certificate, had everything in my folder, get up there and I'm standing in line waiting and 1 o'clock, I'm there right on time. And 3 post office people are just kind of like staring at a computer and they're like, not even acknowledging anybody out in the crowd that as I'm standing
It
there,
drives
10
me
other
insane,
people,
man.
10 other
It
people.
drives me insane.
And they seemed like nice gentlemen, but yet they didn't acknowledge me. And then finally they looked up at 1:10 and they're like, having some trouble with our computers. Are you here for your passport appointment? I said, yeah. And I sometimes like I don't like being a Christian because it's one of those moments where
You just
I
want to
wanna
let it out.
Oh, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
I was here on time. What are you guys doing? But I don't want to be petty like that. So anyways,
But inside you thought that.
I did 100%. And so it's a sin and I deserve hell. And so the lady that came up beside me, we started talking because, I'm so afraid of people that I never talk to anybody around me. But she was saying she recently got her passport done. And she was like,
At the post office?
yeah.
That's a
She was
miracle.
like, at the Monroeville post office. I said, oh, okay.
Do
Do their computers work out there?
Well, so she's like, well, what's your birth certificate look like? I said, it's this yellow one. She said, oh, they're not going to take that, honey. I said, what do you mean? I need a birth certificate. It says, bring your birth certificate. She said, oh, they don't take those anymore.
Here's a copy.
No, it's a real birth certificate. It's my real birth certificate. However, they no longer take that because it's an old birth certificate. So I now have to go down to the courthouse.
I bet you I have to do that too
No.
because we were looking to do
You have
it.
to go
I
down to
bet
the
you I
co-
have
if
the
you have
same
one of those
one.
older
yes,
ones.
yes,
You know,
I know exactly what you're talking
That
about.
sounds really inefficient.
But
More money.
it's the
pay.
government.
It's
So-
unbelievable.
If there was only some, anyways, program
Good save.
that,
Good save.
so I have to go down and get that. Whatever, fine. Like, and I'm not under any, like, I'm not going anywhere necessarily right now. So it's like I'm under the gun, and I'm kind of glad I'm doing it now to just kind
Well,
of get these.
now that I'm hearing you
Yes.
talk about this, because I'm gonna get mine eventually,
Yeah.
and now I'm glad I got a heads up.
Yeah.
I can't
Right.
use the yellow one. I don't even know if I have the yellow one.
Yeah. So
Yellow one is the
just
sun.
be warned, citizens, if you are trying to go
Yeah,
get your
that didn't.
passport.
I don't know why that didn't happen for us. Like we didn't have to redo our birth certificates, but
Yeah, I don't
maybe
know.
we
It's
have an
a-
updated one from when we got our. I don't know. I don't know.
It's,
I'm not saying it's not the case.
It's a long form birth certificate that is now needed to get your passport. So
Makes
I guess
nothing
it
but
has.
sense.
I guess it must have to have your mother and father's name on it, something like that. So, but other than that, Lex had a rough day today,
Sure.
but overall doing well and excited for you guys to go to Nashville. I just booked a room for us at the end of at the end of June for Lex when she graduates. So we're going to be
Nice.
going down to Baltimore.
Do you hear their murder rate is the lowest it's been in 20 years?
I did not hear that.
Yeah, I just saw a stat on
That's-
that the other day.
I'm happy
Well,
about
that's
that.
good.
That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
they've been working hard at that. No, because it
Keep
was. I
going.
mean, it was.
Oh, it was bad.
not good.
Yeah, it was bad. So we're going to do a couple days in Baltimore, just really around her graduation. And then we're going to go, as much as I don't want to do it, I really do want to do it. We're going to go down to D.C. probably for a day and a half. I want the kids to see,
Ride the metro, baby.
I want the kids to see the
Gotta go to
Declaration
the
of
Air- the Air
Independence and,
Museum.
Yeah.
some of that stuff.
Dude, yeah, Smithsonian's 45 minutes each
The-
one.
Well, when Amy and I went, it was awesome because it was just us, one of our trips, and we went into a museum, saw what we wanted to see.
Oh yeah,
left.
Oh, that's how you do it.
It was awesome, but the airplane place that we went to. I can't remember
You
the
had to
name
drive
of
out
it.
too.
You had to drive out to it, but it was
Totally worth it.
It's totally worth it. Saw an SR-71. Saw this Discovery hanging from the
Concorde.
ceiling, which isn't as big as you think.
So it's not the Air and Space Museum?
No, it's different. It's
better.
basically like, do you want to see cool planes and engines and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's
it's so cool. But then on your way out, there's a place where you can lay down in the grass, and you like in Wayne's World when they're looking up at the planes. Yeah, and you can just lay underneath planes that are flying overhead.
Oh, cool.
Which is really cool. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, that was a good trip.
Sweet.
How's Amy?
Oh,
Nothing.
I'm good. I thought we kind of combined, but I'm good.
That's fine.
Everything's good.
Well, it's been
you
a
know,
long
but
time since people got
It
to
has
sit
been
with
good.
you here.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I probably haven't been here since before my mom passed away. I guess so. It's been
Year and a
at
half.
least a year and a half.
I hope
been a
if you're
little
sitting at
busy.
the table, you know that. But
Yeah, they,
Well, yeah, I feel
I
like-
briefed on it.
I've talked
I
about
know. I
that a
feel
little
like
bit.
every week Eric's like, "Oh, Amy's having a rough again." I'm like, "Oh, everybody's gonna think that I'm just this sad person walking around." But no, I had my moments.
Do you
but
listen?
Every week.
Every week.
Wow,
Sits at the
good for
table.
you.
I'm in my car a ton for work, and I always have this queued up, ready to go.
Nice.
Usually on Thursdays.
All of our
is my-
spouses listen to all of our.
False.
Shut that
So
down real quick.
apropos of you to say false.
Yeah, but now I'm good. Overall, I'm really good. Work's good, busy, but and very excited for a much needed trip.
Well, speaking of your mother passing, I did 2 funerals in 3 days, Saturday and then Monday.
Wow.
And then yesterday,
Same person?
no, yeah, it didn't take the first one.
Just wanted to really make sure that they were gone.
Dwight Schrute.
I did have a great line though. The one on Saturday, the sister of the deceased said he was a functional alcoholic his entire life until he wasn't, and I knew that. I knew that's why he died, and he was one of the, like, again, a functional, like, he protected everybody. Like, everybody knew he was a drinker, like his, but he never got out of control, and he made sure he got home, and all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to address it, but like, I didn't really know the guy. I barely know anybody in the family. And I'm like, I ain't bringing it up. So like, I'm standing there, of course, in front of like, it's a good turnout, like maybe 60 people. And she says it. And I'm like, yes. Because I was excited. And I said, what did I say? Oh, the measure of a man is not what takes his life, but how he lived his life. And this guy was a veteran and all that kind of fun stuff. And it was one of those moments where I was like, man, thank you, God. That's, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it meant anything to anybody,
Right.
but it was a perfect timing and it was a great line and I was excited to do it. And then I said, Monday was a dear lady from our church. And then yesterday I spent time with somebody who will be passing, barring an unbelievable miracle of God, which I think would be very upsetting for her. To be very honest.
She's ready to see
That's not going to
Jesus.
go well. And so the topic came up that we've talked in the past about bad comfort. And sadly, we could spend, hours talking about bad comfort.
Yeah.
And in my book, I talk about some of the things that aren't great and the fact, and what to do at a viewing. How do you do it? How do you go through it? Whatever else. But I wanted to get input and feedback from people in regards to, hey, what worked? What was it that stood out? And I want to go a little bit out of order from what we have on our outline here. I checked with Ashley and with Hooked on Jesus Podcast, Groot, Laurie Ann, Bethany, Mary Lynn, and Breaking 90. And they all said it was okay if I switched it up. The reason why I asked them is because they sit officially at the head of the table every week.
How do they do that? What
Well,
does
they
that
go to
mean?
Jay Mitlow. No, they don't. They go to lunchtimeinrome.com and become a paid subscriber, and they get to sit at the head of the table. So I would like to, I think, go through the responses first before we talk. What do you
Okay.
guys think about that?
I like it. I like it.
I like that setup better.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
once I start talking, I'm not going to stop.
You want me to read this first one, Laura?
Yeah, absolutely. Good old Laura Perini. Big fan. Go on.
Yeah, she said, when Gary died,
Her husband.
almost every single kid in the first and second grade at my kid's school came to the viewing.
Hard stop. Real quick. How awesome is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to blow past any of the amazing stuffs. Like, can you imagine
Right.
in that moment?
Looking out and seeing that.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Not just their parents, but the kids as well. Very
Didn't need to stop you hard there, did I?
cool. You really didn't, but I respect it.
To be fair, I thought there was more. Although in today's day and age, the parents as well.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
this wasn't today's day and age, but
Yeah.
when it happened, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Faith Milazzo.
Champion Penn Hills litter picker upper.
Huh. That's a
Literally competes.
great. No way.
Is there a team?
Yep.
Wow.
Penn Hills litter.
Wait. Expand,
compete-
expand on this for a sec.
The Penn Hills anti-litter campaign, I don't know what they're called. They compete against other communities, and they have garbage pickups, and there's champions, and there's second place, and there's third place.
Wow. This is a Saturday Night Live sketch.
They're passionate about keeping the community clean.
That place doesn't exist. Anyways, I really appreciated the few friends from high school and college who showed up at my dad's funeral over an hour away and with 1 day's notice. We did not have a viewing. It was also nice to see my dad's best friends from high school who he had kept in touch with over the years. One drove across the state. This had nothing to do with the funeral, but the mom of one of my daughter's friends from grade school showed up at my house with flowers and some tea because she read my Facebook post that I was having trouble sleeping. I hadn't seen this woman in a couple years. We only kept in touch through Facebook. I was really touched by that kindness. That's a lot of going out of the way for a lot of people to make a significant moment.
Well, I think for me, one of the significant things is they came from an hour away on 1 day's notice, not to a viewing,
Right.
Right.
but to the actual, like,
Right.
you don't pop into
Right.
the funeral.
Right.
No,
Like,
a
you-
funeral is a little bit of a commitment.
Right.
Right. The
Yeah.
viewing, I mean, one of my greatest stories was Neil Gordon's mother. And I popped in and out, and it was literally, I think, 2 minutes and 38 seconds. And it made the greatest impact on him. And I'm like, that ain't a funeral, man. That's
Right.
Yeah.
at best
That's a commitment.
30 minutes.
Yeah. That's
Could
a
be
drive
longer.
with a commitment with a drive back.
One of the moms of my daughter's friends from grade school. Okay, so the daughter's older now, too. That's pretty sweet. When somebody you haven't
Yeah.
seen in a couple years comes by,
Right.
brings tea, flowers.
All because you were somehow connected on Facebook. That's a very nice gesture to go out of your way that much.
It's almost like social media can be used for
It
good,
can- maybe
not
it
just
can.
tormenting people through
Right.
Facebook Marketplace.
Too soon. All right, Janet Amato. Dan worked for the PAT and tons of workers came. They even brought a bus with a wreath in front of it with his employee
wow.
number. His dear friend Tom flew in and brought his clarinet and played at the funeral. My friends and family were nothing short of amazing.
Were any of you there for that?
No, but the Pat bus move is awesome.
That's really cool.
He was a Pat is
Yeah.
our now it's PRT,
right.
Pittsburgh Regional Transit.
okay.
Transit, but it's our bus
Come
system.
on. You can't change the Pat. You can't change
It'll
Pat
always
bus.
be Pat, just like it's always Civic
I
Arena.
believe they spent millions of dollars coming up with PRT.
Wow.
instead
I'm
of
sure they did.
the PRT bus.
BRT.
But he did. He passed tragically, and I remember in the funerals, of course, at our church, and it was a wild ride. I mean, it was one of those times where you're like, boy, like you said, like the bringing the bus,
Yeah.
and all the
Yeah.
employees on the bus.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I wonder if that's something they do, like if you know, but
I don't know if it happens all that often.
Right.
And his was so tragic. I
Yeah.
mean, he had a heart attack while driving a bus. Took the time to pull the bus over so that his
Jeez.
passengers, I mean, that was remarkable.
Yeah.
And we didn't know,
Man.
as part of me now as a pastor, I'm kind of like, they could have called. Because, like, we're setting up for the luncheon afterwards. And we were like, I don't know, 50, 60. Well, they brought 40.
yeah, I think about a bus.
And so, like, we're throwing tables and everything else. But it
Yeah.
was happy to do it in that case.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know if any of you guys have ever heard of Dawn Pinner.
yeah.
Yes.
And I abridged hers to a degree. And it says, in the emotion... it was the emotion that others showed. Some were there for my mom and her. Some were for my mom, the emotions, and the void in their life brought on by her passing. But also the hurt was felt for my hurt, she said. It was, quote, my people sitting behind me, walling me in, protecting me. Lastly, it was everyone who knew how exceedingly important each and every detail of the day was to me. All this to say that in one of the hardest days of my life, I felt protected. And I think that's a unique perspective.
Yeah.
Like, that's not going to come up again. That
Right.
I felt protected.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of people that you really don't want to deal with.
And it's one of your most vulnerable points as a human being.
Yeah.
And I mean, Dawn, has she been here at the table?
No.
I mean, that's a set it and forget it kind of a podcast right there.
Yeah.
I mean, so let's do that. But I mean, cared for her mother.
Yes.
I mean, for 7 years. And, it was everything. I mean, it was so traumatic. It was known,
Right.
but yet it was traumatic.
Right.
And, I love that she wrote, it was everyone who knew how exceedingly important each and every detail of the day was. And it was.
It was. I was there. It was beautiful.
I've never seen its equal as far as details.
And very much true. Like you knew who she was. If you didn't when you left, then you weren't. I don't know,
paying
but
attention.
You weren't.
Yeah.
Right. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was.
It was
and I
very,
love
very beautiful.
that she says that that her friends walled around her.
Yeah.
Yes.
For a second, I thought it was like a typo that said wailed, but no,
Right.
No,
like
they
they
did.
walled up, and it was neat because I think her friend group is so highly specific and specialized,
Yeah.
and I think she values that and almost procures that.
Yes. I feel like she was so intentional to do that. There's not many people I feel like Dawn. She knew what she needed and she didn't care to sit. Like she was very good about going and saying, I need you to do this and delegating. And I just think that's amazing, especially during a time like that.
Yeah.
And I think
Really
each
do
of the
it.
people excelled in the emotional need, for lack of a better term, of respect, certainly respecting her wishes, everything else, but also acceptance. Because they didn't say, well, why are you doing this way?
Yeah.
And why that? Or you don't need to go this far overboard. They let her be who she was, which I think is a huge component.
Right.
I jokingly tell people, and again, not if it's like their husband or traumatic, but it's sort of like the thing I say when it's, somebody's uncle and it's a teenager, whatever. I say to them, look, if you've ever wanted to take a swing at somebody, now is your chance because you're grieving.
You mean the dead person?
No. You don't want to beat the dead person.
Oh, okay.
You beat a dead horse. And that's even frowned upon.
Yeah.
No, like when somebody's like awkward at a funeral because it's their grandfather, but I'm like, hey, this is your shot.
Yeah.
If you ever get a chance to be however you want to be,
Yeah.
it should be now. It should be when you're grieving.
Right.
It should be when it's your lost loved
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
No, you can't take swings at everybody necessarily. But you don't always get that right. And people
Right.
do judge. And I think it's a blessing to allow people to be who they are.
Yeah. That's a big one.
Right.
Beverly Sheasley. At my uncle's funeral, I learned more about him due to the pastor who spoke. My uncle told him things that he experienced as a soldier in World War II that he never shared with any of his family. It was like getting to see another side of him, a gift from him to his family at his funeral.
Wow.
That's amazing. I love how that sentence ends. A gift from him to his family at his funeral. Like, probably somewhat unintentionally, having conversations with this guy over the course of his life, but, opening pages of his story that even his family members hadn't seen, and then them being able to have those imparted to them. That's really cool. My grandfather once told me a story about his World War II experience that, like, it's amazing and then to know how that shapes you and the impact that made on me.
Yeah.
I think very often when we lose, was it uncle's funeral? Okay. But when we lose a grandparent or somebody who's older, sometimes it's kind of like, all right, cool.
I expected this.
Yeah, it was coming. It was whatever.
Yeah.
But at my grandfather's, on my mom's side, Papa Bronner, he was 94. He did it right. He was healthy until he wasn't, and it was maybe 5 days. At 92, he decided to have his hernia operated on that he'd had for 40 years. We're like, really? He's like, yeah, it's been bothering me. But, and I've told the story before, but not to people who are sitting here at the table today. A man came up to me in his 60s or whatever, which is funny now that I'm sitting here at almost 54. But he said, you don't know me, and I just want to let you know. And I've told the story before, but it's so apropos that my parents were friends with your grandfather and your grandmother, and they would play cards together, and they would take me over as a young child, and your grandfather would take the time to make sure I was okay and to give me a snack and to give me something to drink, and he always paid attention to me, and I wanted to come here today to tell you that. Sort of like how they shared the story. When you get to that act of intentional love, For that guy to remember my grandfather, which also, what a great testimony to my grandfather. But, I haven't done that yet. You know what I mean? Like, I gotta, do we look at it? We're not old enough yet to be looking at the obituaries every day.
Check and see who died.
But that's a real special thing.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that in the book that, and Amy, you mentioned it, I think, in your thing that's coming up. You can screw up by not going. If you're expected to go, all you can do is go. That's it. You got to go. And you can screw up if you're expected to go and you don't go. But when you're not expected to go and you go, man, that is the money shot. That is when you really have an impact.
Very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carrie Doyle. Kind, genuine presence and appropriate crying with them, not hiding your tears.
Little Romans 12:15 there.
Pretty
Yeah, right. That's kind of the definition of it
Yeah.
right there.
All right. Kelly Anchor. My friends showing up when my aunt died. No, they did have to, and it meant a lot. But also at that time, I probably didn't think I was worth my friend showing up. Wow.
You guys should get married.
Yeah, right?
Kind of goes back to what you were just saying.
Yeah. Right.
You can't mess up if you aren't expected to go and you go. And they didn't have to, and it meant a lot when they did.
Right.
Well, and like reading like how at that time she didn't think that she was worth her friend showing up. Like that's huge.
That's a big
because like you're
statement.
going through a really really hard time and you don't think you're worth, and then somebody that shows up.
In the hard days.
When you think of what God
Right.
did, God took, a painful moment. I mean,
Yeah.
it depends on how close she was to her aunt, but regardless,
Yeah.
there's a death. And out of nowhere, oh, wait, you're worth more than you thought. It wasn't just like they,
Right.
like Carrie said, oh, they cried with me. Great. No, the fact that they showed up healed a different hurt than she was even
Right.
processing.
Yeah.
Katie Jones, Hess, high school classmate of mine, she said, when my dad died, we were unsure of what to do about the newspaper obituary. Can we all just say, at least Amy and I, amen, about what to do about an obituary?
Oh, yes. Praise God.
Is it not?
Yes, we do.
Oh, yours? Wait, whose was it? Somebody passed away in the last year or plus. It might have been Dawn, but it was somebody where the newspaper wasn't going to come out. It might have been my mother. And so, like, it wasn't going to be in the newspaper. It wasn't going to be. It was my mother. And so we ended up making it smaller through just the funeral home because the newspapers charge
Yeah,
$1
right. We opted out
billion
of that. Right. It
$1 billion.
It was like, oh, you go on the website for free. Oh, just share the link. That's what we did.
Right. He had been ill for many years and had limited contact outside of the house. Many of his friends, work colleagues, and neighbors had either moved or passed. And especially as you get older, like even with my mom, it's like, not to,
Right.
We decided to run it, and a few families in Penn Hills saw it and came to the memorial. These were other swimming parents who we knew since I was in first grade, back to the days of Highlands Aqua Club swim team, and then all the way through high school. They shared great memories of my dad. It was very touching to see them and hear of the outgoing and proud athlete parent version of my dad. You never know who may show up if they can. And I think, well, that's it. That is, we're going to come back to this, but that is the blessing. That's the amazing component. And I love that they debated about the obituary, because it is pricey.
It
It's
is.
stupid pricey.
Yes.
Everything's expensive when you die.
Yes.
Amen.
Hannah Brazaskis. I don't know how.
You did close.
All right.
Brazakis. That's our
Brazakis.
That's our Hannah Bear.
Oh, Hannah Bear. Okay. I used to think I needed to say something significant when I had attended a viewing or funeral. When my mom died, I realized I remember very few things people said to me. That's a very true statement. What stands out the most were the people that were there, just their presence. The fact that they got up that morning, got dressed, and showed up for me, or my dad, or my brothers, or just because they loved my mom, that was the biggest comfort. That's really true. And I think, like, some people feel like there's a lot of pressure to say something of great magnitude or, whatever. And you really don't. In fact, the less you say, the better.
Or talk for 5 hours and you're like trying to,
Yeah.
hey.
Yeah. Oh, man, the people that get stuck up in the line that just hang out and you're like, all right.
There's just got to be a Seinfeld skit on that one.
Those funeral sandwiches upstairs aren't going to eat themselves, and I really want one right now.
As I put in the book, how to have a funeral for your kid. I don't want to say it another way. And it's highly specified, but I don't think I have an enforcer. I think there should be an enforcer at viewings.
Well, let's rewrite the book.
Yeah. No, but they just walk up and they go, hey, can I talk to you for a second? Or, hey, did
Oh,
you see the picture
yeah.
board over here? You just have somebody who's
Yeah.
watching. And again, that's all ages.
Oh.
Who's just watching that when or you can have a sign.
Yeah.
A little sign,
It's your
tug on
wingman.
the ear
Your wingman.
or whatever. And they
Yeah.
just come up and they, because I had a sister on either side of me, but that was more for after I was done. But I love that she points out, and maybe this is just speaking highly of Hannah Bear, when she said they took the time to get up, get dressed, spoken like a mother of 3, but that they took the time. That's
Right.
really-
You got to get ready. It's not like you're just throwing on a
Yeah, you gotta look
sweatpants.
nice.
Yeah, you got to
Right.
look nice. You got to be purposeful about it.
though, since it's just us,
Yeah, this is the group.
the funeral I did on Monday, 2 of the sons were wearing jeans. It's like, what are we, I don't judge, but what are we doing here?
Hey, you can wear jeans to mine. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm saying it was a little bit much. I was like, all right, bro. And then, by the way, not poor. Oh, this is all they had.
Right.
Sure.
I want to point that out
Yeah.
there. I'm
Nice
not judging their
jeans.
income. I'm
Yeah,
judging
yeah.
the choice. Well, on the other hand, mom wasn't there, so who are they? I'm serious. Whatever. I don't know. I just don't see it very often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Colleen Jeanette. When Rich died, 2 young girls came to the funeral home by access.
Public
which is a public
transportation.
transportation. Yeah. Public. Yeah. Right. It's like a private service that
Like medical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they were
It's-
people.
Right.
Except these
charters for medical people.
medical or special needs.
Yes.
There we go.
Disabilities. Yeah.
Well,
They
It's
were
like
former,
a taxi service.
They were former students of his. They both were in wheelchairs, and they
Hence
proceeded
access.
to tell me that they both had full-time jobs and they lived in their own apartments, all because Mr. J told them that they could do anything they set their minds to. They said they owed him so much and wanted to show their respect to him and his family. I was so very touched by their kind words and for them coming to convey them to me. Yeah.
because he was a teacher.
Yeah.
And wasn't he an elementary school teacher?
I think so. I can't remember.
So now we're talking
Yeah.
Right,
15,
years
20
later. Yeah.
plus.
And they're still doing it because he said that they could be
Do
anything.
anything.
They could do anything.
Well, and those are the people, when we were at your mom's viewing, you remember the people that I was eyeing them up. I was like, oh man, they look so weird.
Yeah, that's right. He did whisper that to me. I remember
was like,
that
I
now.
got my eye on them. We'll figure this out.
And it was the most beautiful story
They worked
I
with
will forever remember.
They worked with Amy's mom, and they were the sweetest. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm the worst. I am the worst person in the world.
Why? Because 9 times out of 10 you'd have been right. So the one time you were wrong, you ain't the worst.
But I felt so bad because they were just so sweet. They didn't take too long. They shared
Yeah.
some lovely,
Yeah.
thoughts about your
She's
mom.
like, your mom
and-
got me a Christmas ornament. I just took it out last week because
Yeah.
it was December.
Yeah.
And I just told my dad, do you remember Patty got me this?
It's
And then-
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she felt I had to go. She felt
Yeah.
comfortable,
I was like, wow.
That was really sweet.
Yeah.
I want to take a quick break
All right.
from the list, and I want to ask a question. There have been viewings that I have chosen to not go to because I know they're going to be packed.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
public figures. And I don't mean like Art Rooney, but
Right,
you know,
right.
Yeah, someone in the community that
where
was well known.
I feel like if I went, it would be more for me to be seen there than for me to be now. And I also go like, well, like maybe I didn't know that person very well, but I can go and be there for others who are sad, but yet. Or am I just being one more person? It's like, have you ever not gone to a funeral because you're like, it's not my, there's too many people, or, I don't want to clog it up, or does that make sense?
It does make sense.
And I'm not justifying it. I mean, I'm actually asking people's opinions.
I don't know if I'm that person though.
What do you mean?
Like you're like a person that's known in the community that can draw attention that might take away or something like that.
Right.
You know, and I mean that in a very respectful way.
Sure.
I don't feel like I'm that guy.
You've never knocked onto a funeral because you're like, it'll be too crowded, I'll be in the way.
Right. I
haven't.
haven't felt that way. No.
It's only happened to me a couple times. And again, this isn't about me,
But also,
Go ahead.
you've probably gone to more funerals than any one of us at the table because of who you are.
I've probably officiated more than you.
Exactly. Because like
Right.
you're a big part of the community.
So odds are that's going to pop up.
Yeah. Two, you're a pastor. You know, like right.
Right.
Yeah.
No, for me, the other end is given my story and everything else, I just like you said very well.
Yeah.
I don't want to make it about me. Like,
Right.
oh, they, like,
Right.
oh, well, our death was tragic, but there's Jay. You know what I mean? So there's just
Yeah.
something that's always in my mind. Sandy Valenti, good old friend Sandy. She said a couple from church that I felt like they were present. I'm crackling a little bit. Is
I
that
know.
me or sorry? That they were present the entire time my husband was laid out. I will never forget how much that blessed me. And I don't know what that emoji is.
It was a heart.
That was hard. You can tell I printed a church color. Again, being present.
Right.
And but here's actually the understated part of this one. The entire time.
Yep.
There are those people
Right.
that they were just there
Oh yeah.
the whole time.
Yes.
And that's a gift. Well,
Yes.
like yours was one of the first time. Like I'm just here.
Yes, I remember that. You were the one of the very first people in, and you said that. Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy Rachel's best friend, one of her best friends' husband, who's also a friend of ours. He was the Allegheny County cop that I talk about in the book, that he was working, because he had to be in Allegheny County somewhere.
Right.
And he
Right.
was there like for the whole viewing and stuff. And I remember that stood out. I was
Yeah.
I mean, and of course you do the thing for a while, like, still here, huh? Like, what do
Yeah.
you can go anywhere else.
Right.
No, I'm going just here.
Yeah.
So.
You want to read your own?
Oh, sure. I received many great stories about my mom from people I had never met that I still think about often. The day of the visitation at the funeral home was very long and difficult, but anytime I looked up and saw my people, it gave me the strength to carry on. It's also funny that the people I was certain would show up didn't, and the ones that I didn't think would show did.
You want to name names?
Yeah, let's
No.
go.
Yeah, no, when you talked about shout out to Aunt Pat, she was one of those people. I'm like, she was there, and then all this, I think I went to the bathroom for a break or something, and there she was just in the back tucked away. And I was like, you're still here? And she goes, honey, where else do you think I'd be? And I'm just like, I don't know. And I just bawled. I'm just like, I was like, no, you said your thing and you could go.
And
Like,
to a degree, almost back to
know.
Kelly, like, oh, am I worth that? Am I worth you just staying here?
Right. I'm just like, no, you didn't need to be. And actually, throughout the day, as more people came, she was kind of the comedic relief. She would bring that person up and she'd do something silly or say something silly. And it was actually very great. Like, because that's for me. Like,
Yeah.
Well, and you
it was
pointed
great,
out,
so.
much like Dawn, my people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I just had to look out, and there was a lot of people out there. And I also had really great people that knew that, hey, you need a break. They purposely would come up to me and say, your dad's fine. He's talking to people, or,
Right.
Eric's fine. Come on. And they would literally drag me back. And yeah, no, it was great. Or did you go to the bathroom yet? Did you get something to drink? It just, there was people that just purposely sought me out to do that, to check in.
Dylan Porter. When my mom died, 2 young nieces came to my side for hugs. Yeah, by the way, another classmate of mine. I just sat down on the floor with them on my lap and almost cried like a child. It was wonderful, even though I'm sure they didn't understand death yet. Nor did they understand why, wait, is it his nieces? Yeah, why Uncle Dylan was crying. But that to me shows that there are those random moments that God uses somebody you don't inherently expect. Whether it be the grandfather's neighbor's kid, whatever, or 2 young nieces in a given moment.
Who didn't say anything. They just were there.
Probably didn't want to be there.
Present. True.
His sister or brother probably got in a fight with them that morning about getting them dressed and getting them out of the house
Yes.
and to be quiet
Yeah.
and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
It's beautiful when moments like that just happen. They're not manufactured.
Very
It's
organic.
just one of those moments where things are stripped away and it's you see the most beautiful things happen.
And also in that case, so it's his niece. So therefore, his mother passed. So it's their great aunt, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably pretty awkward for them as well. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, I mean, who knows the relationship they had? But like, it was cool that he was there. Probably he was there for them in that moment, that he took the time to be with them. And it's almost like God was just making it work out. So we've been focusing on the good. But now we're starting to hear a little bit of some negatives.
Yeah, why? Because isn't this all about good?
I said in the request for information, I said, hey, we will be sure to point out if you want to share something that we can comfort you. So there's the next few are good and bad.
Got it. Sally, her.
Heard of her?
When I don't know what to say, I give a hug. That's good.
We talked about that.
Great.
I
Yep.
know.
Less
I
is
know-
more.
I know it's important to just show up at the funeral home and or the service. That's good.
2 for 2.
We had a full-term stillborn son. One Sunday, a few months after we buried him, I broke down in church. Someone at the church we were attending said very meanly, "It's time for you to be over this." Don't ever say that.
Like, it's just, I just, yeah. Like, that just, I don't, who would say that?
Like you're
It's
not very
time-
confident.
It's time to be
And to
over
say it
it.
meanly too.
Yeah.
Like,
I love
the
that she
tone.
points out.
Right.
Because like,
Yeah.
did they say, oh, you know what? It's time
Right.
for you to be over this.
Yeah.
No, meanly.
Yeah.
But, well, let's break that down. Who says that?
Who says that?
Psychopath,
Okay.
narcissist.
Sociopath.
Somebody that's been hurt and just wants to skirt it over. And
I know somebody who had had their second miscarriage and skipped, didn't go back to church for at least a month, but not more than 2. And when they went back, the woman who ran the women's ministries said, "Oh, look who finally came back to church."
gosh. I knew about it? Knew why? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Who says that? Somebody that's incredibly hurt and has never
Right.
dealt with it.
Or dealt with it
Or dealt
and
with some
disconnected.
big hurt, and this is how they dealt with it. Well, then you need to deal with it
Right.
too.
They
Like that.
detached and disconnected.
Right.
Man.
But yeah, the meanly part. Now, I would argue it could be somebody who hasn't, obviously, just like that, who hasn't dealt with it, and therefore it makes them uncomfortable. And,
Right.
you make
Yeah.
me sad, Jay.
Yeah.
I'm uncomfortable being around you being sad.
Yes.
Nobody's ever, somebody with a negative 10 on comfort.
Right.
Right.
Speaking of presence, that person cannot be present.
Yeah, so they should practice no presence.
Right.
Speaking of presents,
Tara Conaway.
She's about to have another child.
All right. Ministry of presence is the best way I describe it. The ones that didn't do anything overly memorable, they just showed up. That seems to be a running
theme.
theme.
Doesn't it? Boy, before you keep going.
Yeah.
And I look at Amy because you listen to things like this. Is that a thing?
I was actually going to comment on this after Eric was done talking. Like, ministry of presence in my line of work. I work in hospice for those that are listening at home.
Because it is in quotes in her.
And it really
her
is a
thing.
thing. It's considered like
somebody
an
mentions it.
intervention that you would have a ministry of presence or a bedside presence or whatever. Yes.
is that like,
So I was like,
flag-
oh.
It's
I
an
knew
industry
that.
term.
the flag ministry at church for people that wave flags. Like
Same exact.
similar.
The ones that stand out in my mind as negative experiences are akin to Job's friends, quote unquote.
I was really worried you were going to say job. Go on.
Oh, that would have been
Steve.
great.
Steve Jobs' friends.
Offering advice, information. I mean, honestly, just anything they said.
Tara's great.
I know it was well intended, but to this day, 15 plus years later, I still remember someone warning me not to gain weight after my mother died because she did, and how awful it was. This is so horrible and funny. Oh man, I got it. Yep,
That's a quote.
yeah, it is. I lost my place.
And notably,
And notably to me, the biggest highlights are the ones who showed up 3 months, 6 months, 1 year after the funeral.
Preach.
Say it louder for the folks in the
Yes.
back.
The funeral is easy to remember. Social media, newspaper obituaries, town chatter. It's the ones who show up when the dust has settled and life has moved on for everyone else. That is the true ministry of presence. that's great. I feel like that's a really good one because I mean, life moves on very quickly.
Yep.
You know, and it doesn't stop. I love how she mentioned town chatter.
I was just about to
Yes,
say
I
the town
know,
chatter
We're in the 1850s.
in the public square.
Yeah, in the public square, and the town chatter of the day.
The town crier with the bell.
But no, that's awesome. I think, yeah, that's showing up. You know, it doesn't even need to be consistently. You know, it's not something that like it's not like every week or something. But hey, you reach out 3 months after. You know, like she said,
No, that's
6 months after.
I tell that at every funeral I do.
Yeah.
That, you know, and it depends on how Italian it is, but I always go, you're pointing at me.
Yeah, well, that when you were talking about like not going to the funeral because like you didn't want to, you know, maybe take
Right.
away from it, I was like, but this is something that you can do. This is what I was thinking about before. I was like, but you can show up later when people have moved on, but they're still hurting a lot.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
And I did that with a fellow coach at the high school where his wife tragically passed, and I was like, man, I'm just gonna be in the way, blah blah blah. And I waited, and then I reached out and gave him my stand message. This is 3 years ago, and now we are great friends. And he was like, that got me through, you know, because again, as you know, you got no idea what's going on the day of the funeral. You know,
Right.
Right. Oh,
Right.
yeah.
It's just
starting about 2
yeah.
weeks after, you can be like that first little ray of light that comes into the room through the fog, you know, and go from there.
Right.
Even like right at like I don't even remember a lot of Christmas that year. Like everything just
Oh,
moved
no,
by
it's
so
just a
fast.
blur.
And, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Corey Trey. I'm not sure if this is considered a blessing, but my uncle passed when I was in my mid-20s, and my 93-year-old aunt, his wife, was standing up at the casket. My boyfriend at the time, now husband, and my parents approached, gave hugs, etc. My 93-year-old aunt proceeds to say, Corey, you've sure grown. Not this way, motioning up and down, but this way, motioning side to side. Oh, boy. Now I am 4'10", and at the time, maybe weighed 130 pounds. I was ready to knock her out, and my boyfriend and parents still relive that moment, the anger.
My parents and
Oh
boyfriends
my
still
gosh.
relive that moment. So every
Wait.
time that they relive that moment, she's transported back to that place of hurt.
So,
So-
I think it's safe to say, aunt, not good comfort. But Brian astutely points out,
Right.
boyfriend and parents,
Not good either.
no.
Right.
Maybe stop it.
It's funny we have two weight-related ones.
Yeah.
That funeral weight, man. I gained it a long time
It's like,
ago.
is that supposed to be like freshman 15?
Yeah. Funeral 50.
Well, and you know what's funny is your little caption. I realized that, oh, that's probably for the next one.
Yeah.
Yes. I thought that too.
Way to use your context clues.
Did you have any terrible things? Not to name names.
Terrible like comments?
Yeah.
When the priest came up and was trying to gather information for the eulogy the next day at the funeral.
The priest that worked with your mother all the time.
Yes.
And should have
Oh, yeah,
not
I'll say
needed
it.
information.
I'm not hiding back on that one.
Yeah, that was probably the one that probably hurt the most.
Yeah.
Because, you know, so
Fishing for info.
Patty was very dedicated to her church. I don't think there was a day that went by that she didn't stop in at church to like do something or serve some
For
way or
somebody,
you know
right.
whatever.
Yeah.
And the priest didn't really know her, and that makes me incredibly sad.
And a lot of priests showed up, and it was a big deal, and that was amazing. Not many people
several
did.
were great.
Yes, my dad would whisper. He's like, "Was the Pope going to show up next?" It was really cute.
Yeah,
And
that
I
was funny.
I was like,
he might. I mean,
That's a big deal.
that seems like it could happen.
But the one person, and you're just like, wow.
He
Yeah.
wasn't newer. He
no,
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 But he
Not-
should have.
he should have known.
He worked with her,
right. That's
Right.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but didn't
Yeah.
know her at all.
Right.
and then hands my dad an envelope after the funeral and says, "Here's my sermon if you'd like to have it in writing."
Oh, see,
Great.
I went
hands it to him
Italian.
in an envelope. I don't know if we still have that.
Yeah, no money.
Yeah, I went Italian. Like he
Yeah.
gave me an envelope. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. With my sermon in it. Gosh.
Will you sign it, sir? That'd be great.
Yeah, I need your autograph.
Now, we were spared at ours. I mean, Rachel had the one that was catastrophic. You know, now you have more time to spend on the other two kids.
Oh, gross.
I
Wow.
still don't know who said that, though. I'll have to figure it out. Anyhow, but I don't think I've ever said anything terrible. I hope not. Because I used to
Yeah.
talk more.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I have one that I somewhat regret.
Oh boy. Was it weight related?
Childhood childhood friend of mine. I grew up with him. His brother got murdered, and I went to the funeral, and like the first thing I said was, "Hey, don't go retaliate and do anything stupid."
Oh.
So
Maybe not the right timing.
Yeah.
You
there
know.
was counsel.
Yeah. I mean, no, it's not great. It's not comfort.
It is not as bad as I thought. That
No,
was,
I thought it was going to
Right.
be so much worse.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No offense.
Yeah.
Kind of
No,
being like an
it-
yeah.
icebreaker there a little bit.
Right. It was pretty direct. Like, hey, just don't go anything, do anything stupid.
Well, let's
don't
look at it this
retaliate.
way. Did he?
I don't think so.
Or
Not that
they?
I know.
I don't know.
Not
May-
that I know about.
Maybe that's why.
Maybe you saved a life that day.
Maybe I did. I think I did.
Maybe God.
Thank you, Jesus, for me and my wisdom at the funeral.
Because it's all about Brian.
Maybe.
Gosh, if I hadn't have been there.
Maybe. And then they would have retaliated.
Yes, and then they would have retaliated, and it would have been generational.
It would have been
And-
one long funeral.
I mean, Hatfields, McCoys, nothing like it.
I
mean,
saved the day.
That is incredible. God whispered in your ear and you
man.
responded. Because you were walking really close with the Lord back then, too.
Well, this was
2 weeks
yesterday.
ago. Oh, yeah.
Still walking pretty close to the Lord.
Yeah.
I'd like to think, but no, this was like early mid 2000s.
That's
Still all right.
And our final one for the night, which is captioned, "This is so sweet," or "This is just sweet," which is not describing the one before that where Corey was told to stop being wide. Mark Piccolino, the two people who I grew up next door to passed away within weeks of each other. When he died, I felt that the priest really didn't say much about him. They were very involved in their church and deserved a better send-off. When she died, I voiced my opinion to his children, and they let me say a eulogy for them both at her funeral. I felt so honored to be able to memorialize them properly.
Wow.
That's the
that.
way it's done. Wow.
Nicely done.
Now, that's Mark Piccolino from formerly of Crescent Gardens Floral, so he knows his way around a funeral or two.
Oh yeah.
Because if you think about it, a little delicate.
Yeah.
That was that. I mean, and also knowing Mark, I'm sure he prayed long and hard about it.
Yeah.
But to go up to what is it? The next door neighbors he grew up next to. I mean, think about like with a house you grew up in. To go to that family and
Right.
say, "Hey,
Can I do better?
swing and a miss on the first
Yeah.
one. How about you call up the old lefty here?" And then you got to deliver.
Right.
Oh, that's a big pressure
Talk
one.
about people
there.
you don't expect. Like in this
Unbelievably.
case. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And sad that they were very. Do you know anything about this, Amy? They
Yeah,
were
right.
very involved in their church.
Another,
They deserve
Literally
friend
better.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
0 for 2 on the old.
Right?
Yeah.
Do better.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that.
So go ahead.
So you often have funerals where you barely know anything about the person. I guess it's different with these because like these people should
supposed
be,
to.
Yeah.
Well, like so on Saturday, I got up there and I said, "Hey, listen, it would be foolish for me to act like I knew this guy." And I said, "It's everybody,"
and that's great.
And I
That's
said,
great
"But
for you
here's
to-
here's what I've observed." I said, "Number one, I said he was a man's man." And I gave the example. He's in the army. He loved his beer. He loved to bowl. He loved to do all these things. But number two, and more important than that, is he was a good man, and he served his country. He helped people, whatever else. I said, "But why would I keep talking? Here's the next person."
Yeah.
Again, the worst top 2 most awkward funerals was the cat lady.
Yeah.
That was the worst. That's all anybody said. She loved her cats. Sweet. I got to fill some time.
Right.
I yelled at her like 90-year-old mother who they got out of the hospital because I was like, "I know she loved her cats. Tell me anything else." "Oh, she loved her cats." F you, lady.
And that's it for episode 275. Join us next week for episode 276. Between now and then, please give us a like or follow on social media and visit us at lunchtimeinrome.com. While there, take our relational needs questionnaire. Thanks for joining us at the table for Lunchtime in Rome. See you next week.
Bye.
Goodbye.
I need a new tagline. Bye.